Tandem Nomads, episode
300.
What a huge milestone. So in this episode, I will make a huge announcement for those of you who listened to the previous one. I already talked about the fact that this podcast will be changing names, but today will be all about first celebrating 300 episodes, 8 years in business, and we will be revealing the new name of this podcast show and the new brand that I will be using to continue the work that I do to serve you and support you in your journey. Hello and welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show designed to help you build a portable business that is aligned with your needs and your lifestyle. This is your host, Emel Deregi. I'm a business and marketing coach and the founder of Tandem Nomads. And in this very, very, very special episode, I am here very excited to be accompanied by Sundae Bean. Sundae, are you ready for this ride?
I am ready. Are you?
Oh my God. I don't know what you have cooking for me here, but Nomad Nation, Sundae Bean is first of all an amazing friend. We've been part of this journey together, and I wanted her to be part of this episode because she was one of the first people I've been talking to when I launched Tandem Nomads. And since then, we've been on a ride, and we'll talk about it later. We've done so many things together. She became a friend, but initially we collaborated in so many ways because I truly appreciate her amazing skills as an intercultural, a strategist and oriented solution coach, and the host of In Transit. Her expertise is all around transition and helping people from all walks of life transition. Talking about transition, I could not dream of a better partner and friend to be on this show with me to talk about 300 episodes, the 8 years, this huge brand evolution that I will be announcing to you, and also to thank her for the amazing journey. I cannot believe how much we've been through together in this past 8 years. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so honored, Amel. And my goal for this episode is to not cry. I don't even know.
I'm already tearing up.
First of all, I want to say thank you for letting me drive for this episode. I think that's really special for those of you. Now that you have been listening, you might get the hint that today we're going to switch seats. Today, Amel has let me take over, and it is so emotional on so many levels. One, because I respect you so much. I love what you've done for the community, in the community. And I also have been privileged enough to see sort of a unique lens of your personal and professional journey in these 8 years. So I understand the hard work that goes behind it. The milestone of 300 episodes is incredible. And 8 years into your business. So I've already lost on my goal of not crying because my eyes are all watery. But let me start for a second by telling you something I don't think you know. So when I look back on the 8 years, you started your business 2015, and I was in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, and sitting in my office with really low speed internet. Also, I think I started my business in 2013, 2014. I was trying to get serious about it. And I remember I was looking on the internet and this website popped up, and it was like, coming soon, Tandem Nomads.
Oh my God.
And
okay.
Yeah. And I was like, who is this lady? There was not a lot out there in the field at that time. I remember Kissy Rice with her blog, 20 suitcases, 4 kids and a beagle. She was really prominent. I know Jerry Jones had his blog, but there weren't a lot of people out there serving the community. And I remember your site coming up. First, I thought, well, this is professional. This is cool how she's raising awareness and creating excitement. 2, I love the idea of tandem nomads. Personally, I was on my own tandem nomad journey, but I hadn't had language for that. And I was so excited to see someone come in to the space and add value. And the other thing I was really excited about is that you were focusing on business and entrepreneurship, because I think that's something that you centered your whole business around that, but it's in my heart where I do believe that entrepreneurship is a way to empower accompanying partners around the world. And as we know, the world has changed in the last 8 years. It's a way to empower many, many, many more people in many more ways. But it was a moment I remember, and I am so grateful that I've been along your side in all these fun and wild ways since then. But I want you to know that you were making a professional impact from the beginning. And I just want to say thank you for choosing Tandem Nomads on that topic 8 years ago, because I know that your voice and your competencies were so sorely needed at that time. And one of the things you've always done is have a conversation about the things that we're not yet talking about.
Mm.
So you're always someone who's one step ahead, right? You're always looking to the future and adding value to people before they even know that they need that thing. So I just wanted to say thank you before we
Wow.
today.
Oh my God. I really don't know how I'm going to go through this episode right now without falling into pieces. Sundae, I cannot thank you for all your words, but I need to say to especially the listeners how, and to you, I think I've told you many times, but how you've been such an instrumental part of my journey. I don't think I would have been able to enjoy this ride and have so much fun and also learn so much from you through this journey. So I don't think these 8 years would have been so bright without you in it.
Stop talking about us. Let's focus about you and what you've done. I want to hear about 300 is a really huge number. I don't think people understand how much it really takes to produce a podcast. It's expensive, it's time consuming. It really taps in on your limits in terms of creativity and constantly creating fresh content that has value, right? I know that one of the things that you do is you really respect the time of your audience and of your clients. So you want to make sure that you pack everything that you can into a podcast that will really bring them value, not just fill up your episode, right?
Right.
So tell me, what do you think you had to dig into from you, who Amel is, to create those 300 episodes?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, actually, I have to say that I started the podcast because I needed to speak up about spouses' challenges, expat spouses' challenges. For me, it was not a matter of superficiality, it was a matter of human rights. This is how important it was to me. I needed to talk about some big issues I saw in our field that really bugged me. And I was like, how can I speak up about this? How can I, initially it was not even a business thing. I had another business on the side of Tandem Nomads. And I was initially thinking, okay, should I blog? I'm like, no, writing is not my thing. Should I do video? I really don't want my face to be all over the place. And I wanted to hide. And I thought that podcasting would allow me to hide. And actually, to answer your question, what I've learned with podcasting, it's one of the most vulnerable media and one of the most intimate media to connect with our audience. So what I had to tap into was to be okay with being vulnerable. And I am also very, very, very grateful to all the listeners and the community that actually also held the space for me sometimes to be vulnerable, and also for the guests to be vulnerable on the show, because we talked about some serious issues like marital challenges. We talked about mental health. We talked about stress. We even talk about loss and grief on top of entrepreneurship. And even in the entrepreneurship topic, there's so many areas where we need to outgrow ourselves, where we need to challenge ourselves. And it's not easy sometimes to say, hey, this is too hard. How can you do it better? How can we be better at it? And that's what I had to tap into. In order for me to serve my audience, I needed to be honest, to be transparent, to talk about the challenges I have been through in this journey. It's been really hard, but at the same time, so powerful.
I think one of the things that you've done more than I have is you've shared those challenges as they've happened. I would be more the one who would like go through the challenge and then understand what I've learned about it and then share it. But you would help people understand what was going on as it was happening. And what was so interesting for me to watch over the years is to watch the ripple effect that happened in the community when you did that, that you were able to start that conversation and have it keep rippling in the community, and it gives people permission. And I liked what you said. You said about grief and marital challenges and health and mental health. on top of entrepreneurship, it's actually central to entrepreneurship
Exactly.
because we, our energy is our asset, right? Our mental health, it steers how we show up. All of those things are connected. And I love that you've always been talking about that. You haven't shied away from that. And you still manage to do it in a way where you can talk about like really pragmatic points about making your message heard, right? Like you were able to find that that mix, that balance of hard sort of science around conversion and that real life side. So I think that's been so wonderful to look
It's
at.
interesting you say that. Just a side note, because I did a survey before making this episode with my audience, and it was interesting to see that a lot of the listeners actually take notes with the podcast episodes. I was like, wow, that's amazing. They actually listen
That
to
is
it the first time and then
amazing.
take notes, because there's a lot of practical advice as well
Yep.
on the aspects
Yep.
of marketing and running a business.
That's so wonderful. And what you do is so fresh, right? And this is the thing what I think is unique about you is there are a lot of people who are talking about marketing, but you're not just saying the same thing in different language. You're really bringing something fresh to people.
I appreciate it.
So what are you celebrating most when you think about getting to 300 episodes?
Oh my God. I'm celebrating, first of all, the community. I'm just celebrating the amazing people who have been listening to the podcast and using it as their tool to grow. And
Mm-hmm.
again, through the survey, I realized that over like about 45% have been listening to this podcast for at least 5 years.
It's
And
amazing.
yeah, so that's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the I think that it's so hard to stay loyal to a podcast. There's so much offer
Mm-hmm.
right now. When I
Mm-hmm.
started, there was no podcast, and now there's so much going on. And I'm so grateful to those of you who are listening and have been listening for a long time. So thank you so much. This is huge for me, and as well as the growth that's happened for many people, the stories that they came to share with me as a result of listening to the podcast. This is why I do what I do, right? Is to be able to impact
Mm-hmm.
people's lives. And when I can hear stories where it did, it just changes everything for me. And in terms of, we'll talk about it more, the internal part of it. Actually, this podcast helped me grow. And it was like journaling sometimes. I actually would share, as you
Mm-hmm.
said, my journey. And it's been amazing how much I've grown as well through this
Mm-hmm.
journey as well.
There's something so, I don't know, sacred about sharing that and then putting it out into the world. As if in the sharing process, it's not only just yours anymore, it's shared. So even though they don't share your experience, they might share a similar challenge and it gives them permission to sort of talk about that. And then there's
Right.
something almost sacred about that.
I agree. Yeah, this is
Mm-hmm.
so important.
So we talked about in your episode 299, you talked about the external context about why you're shifting something in your business. I like to call it brand evolution, right? Because there are a lot of things that you mentioned as staying the same, and some things are shifting. One, if people haven't listened to 299, go back to that because I love how you mentioned the external circumstances. And the reason why I connect with that so much is with my own brand evolution. I was struggling with making a change, although so much had changed externally. So I think it's important for people to go back and think about what's going on in your own business externally, and what is important about responding to those changes. But for this episode, I'd love for us to spend a little time talking about your internal journey. I look at this as a transformation, right? Transformation is ongoing, it's dynamic. And in my work, I talk about three forms of transformation. There's internal led. That means something was changing inside and you wanted to have your insides match your outside. External led is where something outside has changed in the planet, in the globe, in the economy, et cetera, and it's impacting you. And the third one is performance led, where you just have a huge goal that you want to meet. So when you hear those three layers, tell us how they connect to your own business evolution.
That's a lot of transition when I think about it. Because I'm like, I realize you're right. I love this framework that you have, because now I see it even more clearly. Yes, I've been going through we've all been going through an external transition in our economy for the past 8 years, especially the past 3 to 4 years.
Yep.
So external has been a big piece. So the thing is that I've always been super, super super, how to say, not intuitive, but watching what was happening around and reacting to it right away. I've always responded and invited my clients, my audience, to respond to whatever happens around us. We cannot just put our head in the sun and wait for the storm to pass. So I've been always evolving, and that's why Tandem Nomads has evolved. If we listen to the first part episodes to now, there's been a huge evolution. So externally, definitely, and 299 explains more about it. And obviously, I don't think it's possible to not change as a person because we grow. So I think the reason why now I'm ready is because I often tell to my friends and my clients who already knew about this change is that I just felt tight in my clothes. I felt like I'm wearing some clothes that are not fitting anymore.
Yep.
And
it goes back to the lobster analogy that we use about like you're growing, you need to break out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I loved that. And I will link to the episode with you actually in this one, because for those of you who are listening, Sundae has shared her own transformation, her own brand evolution journey with us. But so internally, that's big one. And I think that's the biggest one at the end of the day that pushed me to actually have the courage to do the shift, because honestly, it's not an easy decision to make such a big shift, and performance 100% as well. So yeah, I can definitely see these three coming together.
Did you feel like the transformation that was ongoing was happening to you or for you?
It is happening for me 100%. As hard as it is, because I'm still in it, as challenging, and I'm so grateful actually, because I know in my body and my soul that this is what needs to happen. And so I'm very grateful for the challenges and the internal changes that are happening. If there's no change, then we're not alive, right?
Well, that's how I see the world. I don't know if everybody sees that way, but that's for me. Like if I'm not growing, I feel like I'm not alive.
Yeah.
And then there's days I'm growing. I'm like, oh God, why did I ask for this?
Exactly. It's funny you say that, because now I'm thinking like, wouldn't that be nice to just have things always the same? But yeah, that's not how it works.
They call them growing pains for a reason.
Yeah, the growing pains. It is painful.
So I think, I don't know about you, but you tell me when you're ready, but I feel like we can't really talk about the internal transformation and the changes that have been going on more deeply until we really know what's changing.
All right. So
are you scared sighted?
Yeah, scared sighted. So for those of you who already listened to the episode 299, I've already announced that the name of Tandem Nomads will be changing, but I have not announced the name of the new podcast. So the name of the new podcast is going to be The Time Is Now.
It's so good.
That's it.
It's so good. That's it. Amel, this morning I was in the shower thinking about our episode and just your journey, and I was so excited. And I noticed, I said in my head, yeah, the time is now for her to do this. And then I giggled because it's exactly the time is now. Why is that the new name of your podcast?
Oh, for so many reasons. I've been through such a journey, and you know that, Sundae, with a name. I've been thinking of conceptualizing, figuring out the right name that actually represents everything. But down the road, what happened is that I simply went back to every conversation I had with my clients, and I realized every single one had an iteration of this sentence, because I would always ask why you came to me to work with me. And they would all tell me, this is my time. I've given enough to my family. I've given enough to my company. I've given enough to everybody around me. Now it's my time to make myself a priority and to live up to my full potential and to actually make a real impact in this world. And I'm like, that's it. So it's thanks to my clients that I have this name. And actually, I realize it also fits to me and to this journey I'm going through, where I want to as well expand the level of impact that I can make through my work. And we just come together in this common mission to make an impact and to commit to ourselves and our goals and our dreams. I think that one goes with hand in hand. We often think that making the world a better place is about sacrificing ourselves. And I think it's time now to stop that narrative and to realize that to make a difference in this world, we need to start with ourselves, our businesses, our financial independence, our freedom, and our clarity on how we want to make an impact.
So I'm noticing my eyes are kind of welling up a little bit right now when you're talking, because you talked about the impact, and now is the time. And because I've been on your journey, and you are someone, when you get to know them, you instantly see value and personality and intelligence and success. But the longer you get to know you, you just keep discovering more, right? It just keeps coming. And it is incredible. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know if anybody's had this experience, but Amel, it's like sitting across the table from you and listening to you. I'm just like, what is this lady for real? And then she is for real, right? You just keep discovering more, because what you say, you actually don't even say it. You do. And then it like slips out, right? Like things that you've done, that you've supported other people, contributions you've made, how you've supported communities, your beliefs, etc. These are all happening quietly in the background. And then they like slip out in a conversation and you discover it, right? And that is how it feels to be in relationship with you. And when you talk about the impact and that tight jacket, or the sort of the shell of the lobster that's too tight, it's because that's how big you are, right? That I know your heart and what you want for individuals, what you want for your clients, how much you pour into them, how you see the world, the impact you want to make in the world. And I felt like for a long time, you were doing the right thing with your niche. You were doing exactly what you needed to do. But as I got to know you, I realized how big you are and how big your dreams are and how much you see in people. And I'm so excited because I feel like you're now right sizing your container of your business into your heart and your head.
Wow.
So tell us more about the impact you want to help people make.
You've been one of the people that have been very instrumental in one thing that you said here, which was all the things that I do in the background that nobody knows or sees. I'm actually fine with that, right? I've always been okay with that. I actually always wanted it this way. Like, I don't need to show everything I do in the background. I do a lot of volunteering. I do a lot of activism in a very disguised way, in a way. There are topics that matter to me. But it's interesting. I realized at some point I'm not serving my causes by hiding them anymore.
And that I've given you that feedback before. Like, can you just tell people about this? Because if you do tell people, that not like to look bigger or more than you are, but to help people understand who you are, so that the right people resonate with you, right? So there are 3 things at the center of your future work. I know that you're going to share more about them in the future. Yeah. But if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about growth, alignment, and impact in a little bit more detail. Tell us more about these 3 things. Why are they at the center of your work?
Yes, thank you so much. So in the next episode, I will be sharing more details about this. But basically, there are 3 pillars that I noticed in the work that I've done that actually is the same as always in the past 8 years. It's just now I'm more intentionally putting it out there. I think the first goal that anyone who listens to this podcast who comes to work with me is about growth, personal growth, business growth, and more, including impact. We will talk about it. But for me, in order to achieve our full potential, we need to be willing to grow outside of our comfort zone and to actually have big ambitions. Like just accept it, like not hide it. Like sometimes we tend to, because we lack confidence, we lack energy, our life is upside down. We don't dare to look and face to face what we were born here to do. And I think growth is one of them. So that's for me the first step, like to be able to acknowledge the areas of growth where we want to grow and make an impact. The second is alignment. And that's where a lot of people give up, is because they're not aligned. And I think aligning our life with our business is so important. And I always tell to my client, make your business work for you, not the other way around. You need to align as well, not only your life and your business, but also your values and your identity and who you are. And show up to your full potential means showing up as who you are. And I think that's really important. And the third one is impact. The third pillar, but for impact to happen, we need to acknowledge the growth, align things. But ultimately, I know that everybody who's listening to this episode and everybody who works with me, ultimately what they look for is a meaningful source of revenue and a meaningful source of purpose. Like a business should create revenue, should create wealth. We should actually talk more about wealth. I want to talk more about wealth, but wealth means financially for us as well as for the world. How can we create more wealth in this world, be it financially, but also intellectually and emotionally? So these are the three.
So it makes me think about, I mean, that's what I mean. You're talking about the things that are important, that are already happening, that we need to catch up with, right? It's like we're living an old model of how we work in our businesses. And you're saying it's now time to really step into a new model, be courageous, and give yourself chance to dream that that's possible. And it makes me think of the expression, not FOMO, but FOLO. FOLO is fear of losing out. And what I'm hearing you say is, we don't want to be at the end of our days and look back and go, gosh, I wish I would have done more in alignment with my values. I wish I would have worked smarter and not worked too many hours and missed out on balance in my life. I wish I would have dared to dream to make more revenue, right? Like that idea of allowing ourselves to put the dream in front of us and then smartly, right, with systems, with goals, with pragmatism, move forward to make that happen. But what I'm hearing you do is, let's put those bigger ideas at the forefront, and then we'll figure out how to make it happen. Because you've actually been doing that with your clients.
Exactly. I used to do it to help expat spouses build a portable business. At the end, the portable business was about living on the move. But ultimately, what I've been doing with my clients all these years, no matter if they were expats or not expats, is aligning their life and their family needs with their business so that they don't have to give up on themselves. At the end, my mission is to make sure that nobody gives up on themselves and the difference they want to make in this world. And I think this is really important.
And right now, when we look at what's going on in the world, there's a lot of places where we should be making a difference, right? So it feels like the time is absolutely now, right?
The time is now. Yeah, definitely. We're in a very, very difficult times, and more than ever, we need to step in.
So the time is now is the new podcast name. That's exciting to hear what new content will be coming, what will stay the same. But tell us more. What else is changing with this shift?
Actually, yes, that's a great question. You were talking to me earlier about the internal journey, right, of transformation. So you were talking about showing my full self and how it's been important for me to start now talking about everything that is important to me through my business and all the things I'd like to do with my community. So the biggest decision that I have taken on top of changing the name of the podcast was actually to change also the name of the main brand under which I do business, which is what used to be Tandem Nomads as well. So I made the big decision to turn my business into a personal brand, which was a hard decision because I always wanted to hide behind my logo. And I had to take the courage and say, if I want to live up to my full potential and make that difference, I needed to be able to expand into my full name. So the business is actually going to be my own name, amelderragui.com. The podcast will be The Time Is Now, and the main website will be amelderragui.com. I will have a website, the time is now.biz, but it will be tied to amelderragui.com. And and there is also one smaller thing, because I still continue to do work with international organizations and expat spouses. Tandem Nomads will still exist actually as a separate entity that will be very specialized on the services that I provide related to expat spouses support. But that will be like a minor, because most of the expat spouses who work with me are already part of the Time Is Now community. And so there's no disconnect there either.
Okay, so people who are very attached to the idea of Tandem Nomads do not have to let go completely. There's going to be a space for that. And what I've heard from you is so many of the things that have been, that are coming in the future, you've already started integrating into the content, into the spirit of what you're doing. So they get to have more of you. What is going to be different in the content with the shift of The Time Is Now?
I love that. So there's a lot of the topics I felt like was not fitting to Tandem Nomads, and now I can talk about it more freely. which is, first of all, I want to talk more about financial empowerment. That's not my specific area, but have more experts around that. Learning financial literacy is one of the things that I feel like I'm waking up, seriously, when it's about financial literacy, especially for women. The second thing is anything related to innovation. This is the time is now, where we need to take this very seriously with upcoming artificial intelligence. So there will be more topics around innovation. So because I believe we want to make a difference, we need to embrace what's going on here. And the third part is a lot about sustainability, topics related to sustainable issues around the world. I think this is also another thing where I feel like it will give me much more space to bring in all the experts I know in the field and to actually figure out what we can do together.
So right now I'm like, wow, what is going to happen if Amel is untamed, right? Like she gets all of that space inside of her podcast. What is next? I can't wait to see what you're going to have, because I look at the container that you've had and what you've added to it. And now you're expanding the container. It's going to be good. It's very good. So what else do you think it's important for people to know right now about what's coming up, what's new, and what they can expect?
All right. So the first thing to know is to actually, if you're listening to this episode while it's aired, and if you listen to it in the first days, there will be a virtual party where we will all come together. And my goal on the long term is to actually figure out a better way to bring the community together. That's one challenge that post-COVID had become very difficult, but I'm not giving up. I want to bring the community together. And for me, one of the highest values that I have, and I think I share with you, Sundae, is fun and joy. So coming together in the spirit of fun and joy, but also in creating change together. So stay tuned for that. The next episode, 301, I will be diving more into what the time is now is going to be about and how you can benefit from it. And I think these are the two first steps to follow, and as well as signing up to the newsletter. I think is the best way to stay in touch and get to know more about what will be coming up. But the biggest, basically, besides the name, I feel like I'm not changing a lot. I'm actually continuing to do what I've been doing. I want to represent the evolution that has already happened within the podcast and my work. I'm not going to change everything. The name just is representing more the reality that we are already in. But the biggest maybe shift that I want to do starting from next year is to figure out better ways to bring the community together, because I feel like our community and the audience, it's full of amazing treasures and expertise and competences. And every time I'm blown away when I talk to my listeners or when I meet with my clients for the first time, I'm like, wow, like seriously. And I'm like, I would love to find a way to kind of feature more all these special talents and special gifts to serve back the community as well.
That's wonderful. I am so excited. I think it'll be important for people to check out your website and look at what's different. There's some really great things and messages. I feel like you've lifted the lid on some of your messages. They've always been there, and now you have more space to do that.
Yes.
So really excited for people to discover that.
Yeah.
So I was looking for quotes that kind of represented you and your business and your evolution. And there was something from John F. Kennedy that came out for me that I thought really fit. John F. Kennedy says, change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. And I'm excited about the time is now is absolutely a framework for people to look ahead and create what they really want to do, as well as have you by their side and give them the direction and confidence and courage to make that happen. So just wanted to share that with you. And thank you again for allowing me to be here with you. Is there anything else that the listeners need to know before I pass the microphone back to you?
Oh my God. Thank you for being part of my journey again. And thank you for all of you who've been listening and for having been part of this journey with me. If I had to add one small logistical aspect, more pragmatic, for those of you listening to wonder, okay, where to go next. This podcast is still under the name Tandem Nomads, this episode. Starting from the next episode, the website will be thetimeisnow.biz. But the main website will actually be amelderegi.com. And that's where you'll find all the information of where I will be expanding on all the areas where I want to make an impact through my business, but also with you. So I can't wait to continue this journey with you. Thank you again, Sundae, for everything and for leading this amazing conversation and celebrating with me 300 episode, 8 years together. And I can't wait for the future and for what's to come for us together as well with our community. Thank you.
The time is now. Can't wait to see what's next.
Wonderful. The time is now. Thank you for listening. And as I always finish, there's one thing that does not change is my motto. The time is now to turn your challenges into great opportunities. See you in the next episode.